Imagine walking through, well, what looks like a huge forest. Tens of thousands of trees, right? Leaves rustling, sunlight coming through. It feels vast, alive, like countless separate trees. But then you find out something that just stops you in your tracks. Every single one of those trees. It's actually part of the exact same living thing. That's not science fiction, it's real. It's in Utah and they call it Pando. Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take a whole stack of sources, research papers, articles, notes, and boil them down to what really matters, what's surprising. Today, we're diving into Pando. We're going to unpack this incredible biological wonder, this trembling giant. We'll get into the big scientific questions it brings up about life, about time itself, and then we'll look at the really critical efforts underway to protect this ancient marvel. I just find Pando totally captivating. It forces you to rethink what a tree even means or a forest. It really changes how you see things.
It absolutely does. And the core of it, the really mind-bending part, is that Pando isn't a grove of separate trees. Not at all. It's one single male clonal organism. It's a type of quaking aspen, Populus tremuloides, and its name, Pando. It's Latin. It means I spread. This is just perfect, really.
I spread. That nailed it.
Yeah.
Okay, so explain clonal organism a bit more. Because, yeah, when I picture a forest, it's individual trees.
Right, and that's the key difference here. Pando has something like 47,000 stems. Now, these look like individual tree trunks above ground. Botanists call them ramets. But the crucial thing, every single one is genetically identical. They're clones, and they're all connected underground by one absolutely massive shared root system.
Wow.
It's like, yeah, one single network hidden beneath the soil.
47,000 stems. That number is just hard to grasp. So it's not just a bunch of trees close together. It's literally one individual.
One genetic individual, yes. Coordinating everything across that huge area.
How huge are we talking? What's the actual size?
Oh, it's immense. It covers 42.8 hectares. That's about 106 acres.
106 acres.
Yeah, think like 80 American football fields. It's tucked away in Sevier County, Utah, in the Fish Lake National Forest. And if you walk across its widest part, you're covering almost 3/4 of a mile, about 1.08 kilometers. It's big.
And heavy, too, right? I read it's maybe the heaviest living thing.
That's right. In terms of sheer mass, Pando is estimated to weigh around 6,000 metric tons, about 13.2 million pounds.
Yeah.
So that makes it the world's largest known tree by weight and also the largest single organism by landmass. And that root system isn't just holding it together. It's vital. It's coordinating, energy, nutrients, even defense mechanisms against disease, regeneration, all across that entire 106-acre area.
It's like a biological superorganism.
Pretty much a single, vast, self-sustaining network.
That is truly awe-inspiring. So it functions like an ecosystem, but it's one thing. It makes you ask, what even is an individual? Pando just blows that up.
It really does. It challenges those basic biological definitions. You hear about giants like the General Sherman tree, which is massive by volume for a single trunk.
Right, biggest single stem.
Exactly. But Pando, it's in its own league.
Yeah.
Largest clonal organism, heaviest, largest by area. It's unique.
And how long have we known about this? Was it obvious it was one organism?
Oh, no, not for a long time. It was first really identified as a potential single clone back in 1976. Researchers Jerry Kemperman and Burton Barnes noticed how uniform it looked. But it wasn't until 2008 that genetic testing, led by Jennifer DeWitte and her team, actually confirmed it. They sampled across the whole area and, yep, genetically identical.
So science caught up to what it looked like. Okay, now the age. This is where my head starts to spin. It's constantly replacing its stems. How on earth do you figure out how old the whole thing is? You can't count rings, like you said.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest mysteries and challenges with Pando. You're spot on. Ring counting is out. Those individual stems, the ramets, they only live about 100, maybe 130 years. Then they die off, and new ones shoot up from the roots. It's called suckering.
So when we talk Pando's age, we mean the age of that ancient root system beneath the ground. That's the part that's potentially thousands of years old.
The roots. Okay. But how do you date roots that are constantly growing and changing underground? That seems incredibly difficult.
It is incredibly complex.
Yeah.
And that's why the age estimates have varied so much over the years, and they keep getting refined. Right now, the latest, more conservative estimates from 2024, they put Pando somewhere between, say, 9,000 and 16,000 years old.
Okay, 9,000 to 16,000. I feel like I've heard much bigger numbers, though, like 80,000 years, even wilder stuff.
You probably have. Those older figures, like 80,000 or even a million years, were floated around, sometimes on, like, Park Service websites.
Yeah.
But they've largely been reevaluated or retracted. Most scientists now consider them pretty unlikely.
Why unlikely? What changed? Well, a big factor is geology, specifically glaciers. The Fish Lake Plateau, where Pando sits, had glaciers repeatedly. The mountains right above it were covered in ice as recently as the last big glacial period, which ended maybe 12,000 years ago.
Ah, okay.
So the idea that this root system could have survived under massive, grinding ice sheets for tens of thousands of years just doesn't really fit with our current understanding of climate and geology back then.
Right. The landscape itself puts a cap on it. So how are they getting to that 9,000 to 16,000 year range now? What are the methods?
There are a couple of interesting approaches. One involves charcoal studies published in 2022. They look at ancient charcoal found in the soil layers around Pando. You can date that charcoal, and it gives you a sort of minimum age for when the forest might have established itself in its current form. That points towards the lower end, around 9,000 years.
Okay. Charcoal dating. What else?
Then there's a newer approach,
Yeah.
detailed in a 2024 paper, though it's still being fully peer-reviewed,
Hmm.
using something called a somatic mutation model.
Somatic mutation model. Sounds complicated.
It's pretty clever, actually. Think of it like tiny genetic typos. Every time a cell divides, there's a small chance of a random mutation in its DNA, a somatic mutation. Over thousands and thousands of years, as Pando's roots grew and spread and sent up new stems, these little mutations would accumulate differently in different parts of the organism.
Okay.
So by comparing the patterns of these accumulated mutations across the whole clone, scientists can kind of estimate how long that process of growth and mutation has been going on. It's like genetic clockwork, in a way.
A genetic clock based on errors. That's fascinating.
It is. But again, that 2024 study needs more review, more integration with climate data to really nail down that 16,000-year upper estimate. It's ongoing work.
So Pando doesn't just challenge our idea of individual, it makes us rethink old too. But this whole debate about age, does it also connect to how these aspen clones even start? Is that still debated?
Oh, absolutely. And it's a really important part of the puzzle. For a long time, the thinking was that new aspen clones starting from seed were actually quite rare. And if new clones didn't start easily, it kind of supported the idea that existing ones, like Pando, must be incredibly ancient, right?
Made sense. If it's hard to start new ones, the existing ones must be old survivors.
Exactly. But then more recent work, like stuff by Charles Kay back in the 90s, started showing that actually aspen seedlings do establish themselves pretty regularly, especially after disturbances like wildfires clearing the ground.
Ah, so maybe new clones aren't so rare after all, which
Or
would affect the age models.
precisely. If new clones can start more easily, maybe Pando didn't have to be 80,000 years old. Maybe it established itself more recently in that 9,000 to 16,000 year window after the last glaciers retreated and conditions were right.
Yeah.
It forces us to keep asking, what is this thing? A collection of plants, a single being. Where's the line? Pando is just this amazing living case study for these huge questions.
Okay, so given how unique, how ancient, how fundamentally important Pando seems, what's threatening it? What challenges does it face now in our modern world? And crucially, what are we doing to protect this thing?
Yeah, despite surviving for millennia, Pando is definitely facing some serious modern threats. The number one issue, according to research by folks like Paul Rogers and Darren McAvoy, is overgrazing.
Grazing, like cows.
It used to include cattle, but that actually stopped in 2024, which is good. Now the main pressure is from wildlife mule deer and elk. They love to eat the tender young aspen shoots, the suckers that come up from the roots.
Ah, so they're eating the regeneration, preventing the new trees from growing up.
Exactly. They're basically stopping Pando from replacing its dying stems. So parts of the clone are aging and dying off without adequate new growth taking their place.
That sounds critical. What about other things like climate change or fire?
Climate change, especially drought, is a factor. Aspens need water. But Pando has survived major droughts in the past, over thousands of years. So it seems to have some built-in resilience. Fire is interesting. Aspens are actually pretty fire-resistant. They call them asbestos forests sometimes. And Pando can regenerate from its roots after a fire. But suppressing natural fires, which we've done for a long time, can sometimes let other trees, like conifers, move in and compete with the aspen. Still, the broad consensus among scientists and the Forest Service is that managing the deer and elk browsing is the most urgent thing for Pando's survival right now.
Got it. Stop the new growth from being eaten. So what's being done? Are there fences? Active management?
Yes, thankfully there are major conservation efforts underway and they've been building for decades. The Fish Lake National Forest started work back in the 80s, removing diseased trees, trying techniques like coppicing to stimulate growth. Then in 1993, they put up the first fences for the Aspen Regeneration Project, specifically to keep deer and elk out of certain areas.
So fences have been part of the strategy for a while. What's the situation now?
It's much more advanced now. Currently, about 53 acres of Pando are inside protective 8-foot fences. And since 2023, they've been actively tracking deer and elk with GPS collars and cameras to really understand how they use the area and how effective the fences are. But the big news is the 2024 Pando Protection Plan. This was developed over several years with lots of public input and approved in 2022.
Okay, a dedicated plan. What does it involve?
It's a major expansion of protection. A key part involves funding groups like the Friends of Pando were crucial here. They worked with state representatives like Carl Albrecht and secured $250,000 from the Utah Department of Transportation.
Funding from the DOT. Interesting. What's it for?
It's specifically to expand the fencing and other wildlife controls. The goal is to have about 84 acres, that's roughly 80% of Pando, under protective management by 2025.
80%. That's a huge increase.
It is. And Pando also gets special consideration under a 2022 Forest Service order for protecting mature forests. It's a real team effort. Friends of Pando, the Forest Service, Utah Wildlife Resources, the Western Aspen Alliance, Grand Canyon Trust, they're all collaborating.
That's really encouraging to hear.
Yeah.
So bringing it back to the listener, why should someone, listening right now care deeply about this one giant tree in Utah? What's the bigger takeaway?
That's a great question. Pando isn't just a local oddity. It's become this powerful global symbol, a symbol of interconnectedness, certainly, of resilience over deep time. And it's a living laboratory, like we said, for understanding complex biology. Its story resonates way beyond Utah. I mean, think about it. It's been on a U.S. postage stamp. It's inspired children's books, popped up in TV shows like The Blacklist, even webcomics like SKCD. Intel named a quantum computing chip Pando.
Wow. Okay, so it has a cultural reach, too.
It absolutely does. It captures the imagination across different fields. It reminds us of these hidden connections, these profound lessons in nature. Pando stands as this incredible testament to deep time, to surviving change. What can it teach us about resilience? About how systems adapt and endure? It's constantly renewing itself from its roots. That feels pretty relevant right now.
What an amazing journey we've taken, from just grasping that Pando is one single organism sprawling with 47,000 stems, to wrestling with its incredible age, the science trying to pin it down, the questions it asks about life, and finally seeing the very real, dedicated human effort going into making sure this ancient giant survives the threats it faces today.
Yeah, Pando really does make us question our definitions of life, of individuality. It's this profound reminder of interconnectedness stretching back thousands of years. And it urges us, I think, to wonder what other ancient unseen networks are out there right under our feet. What other lessons about resilience, about balance are waiting to be discovered?
Something to think about on your next walk in the woods. Or maybe just on your drive home. Thanks for diving deep with us.